Hi, this is Pam. We're doing another YouTube video today. Uh, the magazine this is part of is called ROC Metaphysical. So it's ROC Metaphysical, all one word, .com, but you'll see it down below after I put it through the video editor. The magazine is an online magazine that the first of each month, new articles come out, written by a variety of people every month. I never know who it is because they reach out to me, and as long as they're positive, uplifting, has wonderful information, it gets put up on the first of the month. Some of that also is that we have people who write books, and we're going to be interviewing, it's Fotoula. Is that how I say your name?
Yes, that's right, Fotoula. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to talk to Fotoula today. She has a really interesting background. I think you'll find that it kind of feeds into the book. So, Fotoula, talk to me about your background. We were doing it before. You're what we would call a shaman, but there's a lot to that. So, why don't you talk about your background and then we'll talk about the book.
So yes, I have quite a diverse background because it's almost as if there are two sides of me, and one is very, very shamanic. One is the passion of my life is shamanism, and that comes from my ancestors. So I was born in Greece. I lived in Greece for the first 24 years in my life, and in my family we have shamanic roots and a shamanic lineage, but it was not accessible to women. It was something only passed on to the first male of the family. And I don't have any brothers. My great grandfather was the first person, well, the last person who actually practiced it, and then passed it to my dad, but my dad was not really interested. So after I left Greece, I ended up in Scotland. One of the mysteries of life, how I ended up there and now have lived more time in Scotland, more years there than in Greece. And there I found the shamanic roots and the shamanic path through Sandra Ingerman, through indigenous people traveling the world and spending a lot of time with indigenous shamans that I truly respect. And eventually trained as a teacher by Sandra Ingerman, and I do a lot of shamanic work in Scotland. But another love of my life, this is actually to do with the book, the other part of me is something that has always been with me. It's as far as I can remember as a child, I had this huge yearning for Egypt, for ancient Egypt. And in 2006, when I started opening up to the spiritual world again, that I was open as a child, but then when I became a teenager, everything closed down and became a town planner. You couldn't get more grounded than that. Bricks and mortar and the
Well, it's good
physical
to have the
world.
logical side and the analytical.
Yes, very, very logical, very much building blocks and all that. So after that, 2006, when I started opening up again, and my psychic ability just reignited, I felt again Goddess Isis, who is my spirit guide, you could say, my helping spirit in the shamanic work and my teacher in the spirit world. She came and she showed me again how she has been walking with me over many lifetimes and not just this lifetime. And how now that path that I walked in ancient Egypt, what she calls the golden times of ancient Egypt, which there is a term, the ancient Egyptians call them Zeb Tepi, that means the first time, is the era of the pyramids, the era before our era now, that is the time of corruption that has been forecasted and prophesied even from the ancient times, that is coming to an end through the awakening of the consciousness. So she came and she said, now that lifetime that I lived there and all the subsequent lives are just something that can come together in this one lifetime. And she said, that's not just your experience. experience. Other people will have the same experience, that whatever their conventional life has been, at some point they will start to remember those lifetimes of service to the highest good and the light, and the gifts that they carry as in their soul, that maybe they are latent for a while and then they get reignited when the energy comes, when the light comes, and when they start to awaken. And she said, then you will find that that time is not a factor anymore, that whatever you knew there is like accessible to you as you start remembering. And that is what happened. And
Wow.
so, yeah, that I had incredible experiences that um, somehow felt very normal. As you said, I have a very, town planning mind, and a mind that is very kind of the mind also of an engineer, the mind of somebody who is practical. But the things that happened, I could not explain, but I accepted them, which I think is strange in some way. And maybe other people have the same experience. So one of my experiences was that I woke up in 2006 during the night, and I had this column of light coming into my body. It was so strong, it was so physical that the bed was shaking from side to side. So it was a physical experience in my body. And then the only thought that came into my mind was, what will happen if I move my body away from this column of light? And when I did that, the shaking of the bed was even more intense. So I thought I better go back in there. And it was coming into the solar plexus area, into the Hara place. And then I don't remember anything else. In the morning, I knew that happened. I could remember that happened, but I just put my clothes on, went to work, went to the office, and I just knew it happened, but I didn't think, oh, what happened there? Should I have been afraid or anything like that? And it was years later in 2014, while I was leading a pilgrimage to Egypt with other spiritual practitioners. And we spent some time in Luxor, in the sacred sites there. Isis came and she said, what happened then was that program of your life and all the teachings that you were going to channel were downloaded and activated in your body once more, because you carry this wisdom in your current body. So everybody, we have lived many, many lifetimes and in different bodies, but in this current body, everything that we have lived through, it is still there. And even though this is a new body, it carries the wisdom, it carries also the difficulties and the trauma of these other lifetimes. And therefore, this body is a key to access what we already know as the spirit. So it has to come through the physical world, and it has to come through the body. And that's why I had that experience.
Wow. Yeah, it's not like you can go to work and be like, hey, have you ever had a beam of light come down? I mean, yes. I mean, I've had things too that you're like, was that real? And I think that's the analytical mind, that you're like, what was that? Was it real? Was it not? What kind of impact? It's not like you had a noticeable change. I'm guessing, but through time. And then maybe as you were learning and, more about Egypt and that kind of thing, like hopefully it kind of unfolded that it was, a nice journey. I have had some people where that kind of thing happened and, like a Kundalini awakening, like, they're sick, they have problems, physical problems, trying to, understand why they're so sensitive to like sound and people, and it can be quite overwhelming. So I just think that's so interesting, and now we can talk about it. And I think that's what I see, is that people are able to talk about this now. We're not hushing and over in a corner somewhere going, you know what, this thing happened. I think we're feeling strong and confident enough to start sharing, which is great, which is now why you wrote the book.
Yeah.
So the book kind of now falls in with you were probably guided to say you need to go to Egypt. You need to, be in touch with the location, the temples. I mean, I read a lot. There's supposedly, vibrationally, there's things they were built specifically so they hold energy, and you can go on about this, and it's so interesting. They found that, I don't know which pyramid it is, that underneath are these like suspended columns and some kind of fluid. And I'm like, oh, this is so exciting. I can't wait till somebody figures out what that's all about. So, all right, enough about what I think. So let's talk about your book. Why did you do the book? And let's get into the meat of the book.
Yeah, this is really good because there, as what you're sharing there about ancient Egypt and the portals and the energy that is there, it is absolutely immense. And at soul level, I knew that. I knew that was my spiritual home, and I knew that was a sacred land. And when I eventually found myself there again later in 2006, through synchronicities, circumstances making it possible for me to be there, I just discovered and remembered again these sacred sites. And they are aligned to spiritual bodies, to energies, to star constellations, to especially Sirius star and the Orion belt and the Pleiades, and there's this cosmos, the Milky Way is the spiritual Nile, so it's all aligned. And when you go there, if you go there with an open heart and this intention that I wish to connect, the people who are there, they will find you as well. So what I found was that the doors were opening for me, because I would walk into a site like the Great Pyramid that is usually filled with many people, many tourists, you can just imagine. And I arrived there in 2006, and there was nobody there, just a guard outside, standing outside the pyramid. And I was able to have an initiation, not planned, it just happened. It was hard. As you said, sometimes the path is about the grinding of the diamond, and I had to overcome a lot of fear, claustrophobia, and all sorts of things. But the key was turned, and I had this immense experience in the Great Pyramid that was an initiation. The energy came from right under my feet as I was leaving the pyramid, and just was in ecstasy. I was in such an incredible vibration of light and so much joy that without any other cause, it was just happened. I was there. And what I share in the book is this pilgrimage through time and space, of going back to Egypt, of going back to these ancient sites, and how the ancient Egyptians, who were masters of light, saw the soul and the journey, and helping us to understand our life, helping us to understand death and the multidimensional aspect of our soul. And there are a lot of beautiful ceremonies there and teachings that I think is a gift to the spiritual seeker. I was given this by Isis and Thoth, and I remember them because we used to practice them in ancient Egypt in the temples. We used to practice two things. One was the path about life. Sirius star was key to that, and the energies coming from the Sirius star. And that is the temple of the East Bank. So that is all to do with life. And then you have the sites in the West Bank, and they are very different. They have a soberness about them. They are very serious, but this is the work they did about the portal of death, because they realized when you go through this portal, you have the ability as a spirit to truly remember and awaken and become enlightened, even if you go through that portal of death in a way that you don't get frightened, you don't get lost. You really surrender and you open up to your spirit. And they practice the mysteries of death in order to awaken, not wait for death to come, but before death comes. So these temples, that they call them the temples of the millions of years, meaning there is no time, they are eternal. We are eternal. They are all to do with these teachings of how you actually can reenact your own death and remember that you are a spirit, and bring that back into your living body here, so you become what they call the living light. There is so much wealth in the book. I have the book here.
Right, that's right. Yeah, make sure you show it. Yeah.
And I explain these two teachings: the connection with the stars, the connection with the infinite spirit that we are, the multidimensional of the soul. They said that there is not just the physical body and the soul that is here present inside the heart center, but there is also another part of us, which is the observer and the etheric self, what they call the double, or the ka. And this is the in-between. This is really the part of us that some people call the dream body, that travels through the realities, that travels through time, and that can really help us connect more, because the part of us that is here in the body is affected by the conditioning of the planet, what they call the personality. And then the part that is the observer, that watches and is in this silence, that is the part that carries that seed of enlightenment. So they work with both, the personality in the body and the ka, the double. And if you bring the two together, you become more and more of that all-knowing wise self, if you like. And less of the reactive personality. So there is so much wealth in the book. I explain about myths and legends, because also in Egypt, what you see is multi-layered. So you maybe have one myth, one story, and then behind that myth, there is another meaning. And behind that, there is another meaning. And then it's like the onion, one after the other. And then when you remember these stories, you think, okay, there is so much wisdom there. But at face value, it's just like an interesting fairy tale. But
Right.
what is behind it?
So what's one of the myths that you're aware of that, it's a little, short story, like I love Egypt. I hope to get there someday. And I look at all the hieroglyphs and, wonder, are they really interpreting those correctly? I see one thing, you may look at it and say, no, I think this is what it is. So it's open to interpretation. So
Yeah.
I'd like to hear, if you can, it's
Yeah,
one of
sure.
the little myths.
So one of the most well-known myths is the story of Isis, Osiris, and Horus. So in the story of the good king, the story of the king of the golden times, the just king, that is so much in his heart, that Osiris, and his opposite, which is the twin brother, jealous twin brother, which is his opposite, Set, who kills his brother so he can usurp the throne. And then Isis, the feminine power of magic, resurrects him, and then she has an intimate relationship with him. They lie together, and then she becomes impregnated with Horus. So this story is, you could say, the story of the good and bad, etc. At face value, it's an interesting story. But when you go deeper, what you find is that this is also the story of us, the human beings. So when we are born in the open heart. We trust because we have not been hurt. We are this open, kind, just Osiris king. And this is who rules inside of us, is that open heart of this beautiful spirit baby that has come into the world, and that is who is ruling inside this being. But then what you have is Set, Set is the conditioning. Set is all the things that Osiris is not, all the jealousy that comes from the development of the ego, of the mind, you could say, that is, the conditioned mind that we would say nowadays. So Set is our next part, and that is what we become as we get hurt. That heart goes into the underworld, closes down, and then Set is there. And then after a while, we find that that has not made us happy, that this is not enough. And Horus is seeing that he's actually not in charge anymore. He's lost something else. The conditioning is ruling his crown meaning his crown chakra. So then Horus is the spiritual warrior. He has to go into a battle, and the battle with Set, the battle with himself. And everybody walking the spiritual path, we all have faced this battle. Sometimes we face it every day. Some part of us says, no, don't meditate, don't do spiritual work, don't trust, don't believe. And the other part says, no, I want to progress. I need to do this. I need to dive into the light. And we are in this battle within ourselves, and we keep facing, and Horus keeps facing this battle so he can regain sovereignty. So this is one of the interpretations. And another layer of that is about the different eras. So we came from this golden era, the first time Zeb Tepi, where Osiris, the goodness of the open heart, was the king, was ruling, this is how we all were Osiris. And they talk about that at the time, the humanity was very awakened, but we were also so open-hearted like children, sharing everything. Then we went to the other side. Now we are living the era of Set. And this era is the era of corruption, of chaos, of all that we're doing there that is not good, hurting each other because of all the jealousy or all that is going on. And then out of that, the new era is the spiritual warrior, that we have to come into ourselves again through connection with the awakened spirit. We're no longer naive. We're not just an open heart. We're saying we are connecting with something bigger. The spiritual warrior is awakening through that connection with the infinite spirit to create again something different. And the ancient Egyptians prophesied that. And they said that this era was going to take place. And they said that there were 3 signs when this was going to happen. And the signs were, the first was that the papyrus plant will come back to Egypt. At some point, the papyrus plant stopped growing in Egypt. And that has happened. And the second one was the ibis bird will come back. And that has happened as well. But the third one, which is also like the most important one, is the lotus flower. And this is very, very rare. It's still very, very rare. So it's almost not there. You cannot see it abundantly as the others. And the lotus flower is about the unconditional love. It's about the awakened consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about living life from that purpose. So the papyrus is knowledge, having the knowledge, and that is rising. We are starting remembering. The knowledge is coming back about all sorts of things. And the ibis bird is wisdom, to develop our wisdom. But the third one, which is so important, is the opening of the heart. So that is the one that we're still waiting to see.
Well, I'm hoping, and I'm always a positive person, that, you're doing the work, I'm doing my little work with the magazine, that, that's going to happen. Like, I don't think we have any other choice if I have my way.
No, we don't have a choice. We all have come. So many of us have come here during these times to maybe sometimes put some things right. We have to, overcome the karma of Atlantis, what happened there, and put some things right again. And also bring our own wisdom into the whole so we can all remember and work together and build this new era that we remember as a soul. Our soul is yearning back for those times
Mm-hmm.
that we know are there,
Right.
to live on the earth in a completely different way. So guided by our spirit. And that's how the people in Zeptep in the golden times lived. That's how they created the pyramids. That's how they had this amazing technology, because this was a technology of light that is not accessible through the ego. It's not just technology that we can put together. It's something else that they need to have in order to access this. And that comes from the higher consciousness. And that is a completely different way to view technology, because this technology is so much in line with the waves of light that come to the earth, with the web of life, supporting life instead of harming life. So we can live on the planet a very beautiful, sustainable, and wonderful life where we can remember how to self-heal as they did, how to live in harmony, how the earth can support us. The earth can absolutely support us without having to use all these chemicals and fertilizers and everything else. And the climate can also reflect that higher consciousness as they did at those times. So we can really be the awakened human again. And this is why we're here. And sometimes I ask the helping spirits, I ask my guide Isis, and say, why do we have to live through these times of Set? And the spirits say, well, during the golden times, when you were in this higher consciousness, at soul level, you were, you could say that the ancient Egyptians say we were like gods and goddesses on earth. We were like enlightened on earth. But at soul level, there was not a lot of growth, because that was all we knew. We were like these wonderful children with an open heart living on this wonderful planet. But when we come to this time of Set, the evolution at soul level through the suffering that we go through is very, very strong. It's almost like Earth is a very advanced school for the soul. It's not an easy school. It's a hard school. Life can be bittersweet sometimes because of all the things we go through. But the evolution, the potential for the evolution of the soul is immense. But they said, when you have something and you lose it and you find it back again, the amount of joy, gratitude, and growth that happens is immense. It's like the myth of the Grail, that the knight is looking for the Grail and sees it there the first day, and then he doesn't realize what it is, and then goes through all these difficult quests and finds it again, and he's like, oh yes, I've now achieved it. I am here. I'm so happy about it. I have evolved through the journey. So the era of Set is a huge journey. It's our quest, if you like, and coming to that point now of growth and realization that there is another way is a huge evolutionary step. When we make the choice that I'm not going to follow the conditioning anymore, I'm going to walk my spiritual path with both feet. Day after day, I make this choice. That is a huge evolutionary step.
So your book is about your journey. From what I kind of was looking at the overview, it's your journey going to Egypt and learning about yourself and what you're actually it's like you were being taught while you were in Egypt, and all the realizations that you came, so that people can understand what happened to you, and it can also be for others. So why don't you fill in more of that, because the book looks great. Unfortunately, I didn't get to read it, but I was kind of looking through the chapters and looking through some of the points that your Gavin had talked about, and also about, is that Heka? Heka.
Heka. Yeah, Heka. Yes, yeah, yeah. So basically, the book is not so much about me. Um, there are some personal stories, just to give a bit of background, and there are some stories about people who have contributed, who came to Egypt with me, and things happened to them. So I include some of that because I think they're important background. Maybe somebody else has a similar experience. But the book actually is about the mysticism of ancient Egypt of those times. How did people practice that path to enlightenment? How did people work in the temples? What were the ceremonies they were doing? What are some of the teachings that they followed? And what did that mean for them? So what did it mean to be a priest, a priestess, and what was their life? But it's really more about the teachings rather than my personal story, because I thought that was more valuable for people who were on the path to really hopefully find some wisdom through those ancient teachings for themselves, if they would like to, if that resonates with them.
Right. Well, we want to entice people to want to get the book so they can learn. And you receive this information working with your spirit guides, Isis.
Yes, so basically I remembered a lot of what happened when I was a priestess in ancient Egypt, when I was living those times. And then Isis came through. Now, Isis in the beginning, she gave me a huge teaching called the 7 Gates of Awareness. And I've been teaching this work since 2006. At first, I was very reluctant. I thought, oh, I don't know where this is. Well, I knew it was coming from her, but I was like, just a small person living in Glasgow, Scotland. What do you think I am? I was saying to her. But she was appearing in people's dreams and telling them to come and study with me.
Wow.
And yeah, whole first year, 2006, people found me that way. And then what happened, I started getting more confident and thought, okay, I'm going to do it. And I got insurance for the course and everything. And the course just grew and grew. So I've got folders and folders of wisdom teachings and initiations through that. But the ancient mysteries can be something that people also dive in. They might have their own spiritual path. And this can really complement the knowledge that the ancients have and that can help them now. So I am going to be teaching an introduction to the ancient Egyptian mysteries live from end of September. I'm doing 3 webinars once a month. So we also have time to integrate because the energy is very strong. It's really the vibration of this work is very, very strong. And people sometimes are really amazed about how much they can feel. Even feeling the energy. Not everybody's clairvoyant, and they don't have to be, because this is not about being psychic. I am psychic, and I can see, hear, and feel, but you don't have to be that. But you will feel the energy. You will feel that light, and you will feel it with your body. So that's what mostly happens. It's very, very strong energy, and it lifts you up into another level of awareness. So yes, since 2006, I've been teaching her work, and the information in the book is not from that, because the teachings that she gave me have to do they're very mystical. She's very protective about them. Says you have to have the initiation first, because then everything makes sense. It downloads like what happened to me. There's a process where she downloads the teachings in the person's body. So when we start to work with them, everything flows. But the book came in some ways from the memories, and then also from the channeling. So whatever has been placed there is through her. I haven't done much of research. I always love to read about Egypt. So of course I've read books about Egypt, but I don't think the pyramids were built as tombs, for example, because that's not what I remember. So there is an alternative if you like, a story there that I feel needs to be told, and that is in the book about what Egypt is, still is, a huge portal of light for our awakening.
So why don't you show us the book again so we can see what the book looks like, right? So Sacred Mysteries or Sacred Mysticism of Egypt. And your full name, please say it for me so I don't goof it up.
So it is Fotoula Foteini Adrimi.
It's so pretty when you say that.
Thank you, thank you.
So do you want to say anything more about the book? I mean, we could probably talk all day, but I want people to go. I mean, now I'm interested. I'm going to get the book so I can read more, and that September thing sounds very interesting. So
thank you, Pam. Yeah, so the book is an invitation, like the path of this path of light, and what happens with the goddess Isis. She says that this path that we maybe have walked, as I said, in ancient Egypt, it spans lifetimes, and she keeps meeting us again, and even when in different schools of thought in ancient Greece. Isis was called Myrionymus, which means the goddess of 1,000 names or 1,000 emanations. So she can appear in many forms in different traditions, and but the book does relate to Egypt because it says it was the last time when these teachings that we brought, the Egyptians inherited from Atlanteans. The Atlanteans came to Egypt after everything was lost, and they built the esoteric school there again when they went to the pyramids that they had built before the fall, and they went there. So basically, this was the last time that these teachings were complete, and then we've lost them. But she has not given up on us, of course. She's the mother, she's the great mother, she's the teacher, she's the enlightened one. So she finds us and she invites us to walk through that door again. And Heka, which is the next part of the book, Heka initiation, Heka is the power of creation, the power that creates this world that we see around us and the spiritual worlds that we do not see, that we can see through our spirit eye. But Heka means this light that creates everything, including this body. So this is a huge initiation for the soul. And Iset or Isis Iset is her Egyptian name. She is the keeper of Heka. So in ancient Egypt, sometimes she was called the mistress of Heka, the one who was bestowing this initiation of the power of creation, and that is the energy that flows through the Sirius star as well to our world.
Oh, now I definitely have to get the book. So tell us, you have a website that you want to.
Yeah, so the website is the Isis School of Holistic Health. So Isis meaning goddess Isis, of course, and you can get on the website. There are sections. There's a section about the ancient Egyptian mysteries. There is a section about shamanism. So if you're interested in the book and the ancient Egyptian mysteries, go to that section. You will see there are a lot of programs, and the September program, end of September, I think it's the 28th of September, it starts, is there as well for anybody who wants to come.
Oh, I think I'm going to be there.
Thank you so much, Pam. That would be amazing. That would be amazing.
Yeah. So, so Sacred Mysticism of Egypt, and I'm sure it's on your website. I know it's on Amazon because I looked it up there. So if people would like to get the book, they can get it on Amazon. And what will happen is all the information will be in the article. So it'll be August 1st that this information will go up. So if people, can't write it down fast enough, it'll all be printed out so they can find it, and a cover of the book so they can make sure it's the right one. So this has been fascinating. I'm so glad we could finally connect. And you know, I think now is the time. I just have a feeling that, you know, it's a little bumpy here in the US and, you
Yeah,
know, across the world. And I think
yeah.
we're going to come out on the other side because we have this, you know, light and power within us that's me. I'm always an optimist. So, you know,
Me too, very much, Pam. And you know, in the previous eras, there was this total distraction, and now it's not the what the information I have from the spirits is not. This is not what it's about anymore. It's the spirits, the enlightened ones, and the beings of light who look after the earth. They're not going to unleash another segment to basically destroy the world and start again, because they say we have to rise up.
right,
We have to become the spiritual warrior Horus that awakens and find. We have to find our way. It's up to us, and everything we need is our enlightened spirit that is with us already. We just have to change our perspective, and the help will be there. Because you know, sometimes people say, where do I start? There is so much, but there is an inner voice, and as we start to disconnect from the conditioning and we start listening from within us and calling for help, then our feet will guide us to the right place. So I think there is also immense help. Yeah.
right. Well, that was a nice closing. So I'm going to say thank you. Um, Very
Thank you.
interesting. I always, you know, I love doing this. You know, I meet such interesting people. So thank you very, very much. And I'm gonna hit the button and let's see if I can find it. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Pam. It was fascinating to speak to you and to connect with you and your program. And thank you so much for inviting me. It's a great honor.
Well, thank you.